Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Ken Bone Show. Super happy that you're here joining us once again this week for episode 26. I am Ken Bone, and here with me is my great friend Josh Burkett. How you doing this week, buddy?
Fantastic. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, I could not be better, except for a few complaints that I will go ahead and enumerate because it's our show and we can complain if we want to.
Do it.
So in my job, I have my own office, which is amazing. I'm the only hourly guy with his own office. And it's not because I'm like important or anything, but it's because I do a lot of the training for the plant, and by law, training records are private and have to be kept locked up. So I get an office to keep them locked up in, which is great. So I don't want to complain about having an office, which is I love. But I do wish that it wasn't so hot in there. Is the point? Is the HVAC is on the fritz, and today it was 77 degrees outside, and it was a 90 degrees in the office.
Good God.
Yeah, that's not an exaggeration or hyperbole or anything. That is, I went and got a thermometer and actually measured the temperature in the office at 90 degrees. I'm sorry if I sound a little distracted, but my wife just definitely stepped in some cat throw up, and I was trying to warn her non-verbally before she tracked it everywhere, but I don't think she understood until I said it out loud.
I was wondering. I saw your face like, what's going on?
Sorry, but well, you definitely stepped completely in it, like it had a footprint in it and everything. Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah, she says her shoes are clean. I am afraid that is not accurate. But yeah, other than that, things are going pretty well. We got some construction going on inside my building. The facilities crew is putting up some cubicles for, I think summer interns are coming in. So that'll be cool to work with some new faces. And hopefully we'll get the cooling issue figured out before it's like 90 degrees in the middle of summer.
I think I would have just left.
Yeah,
done.
I'll die. Well, when I came back from Christmas break, I was gone for like 17 days over Christmas. And there was a similar issue, and it was like 90-something degrees in there because it had been all closed up. And the server cabinets for one of the systems that I run is in the room with me.
Okay.
These server racks put out a lot of heat, which is probably why the HVAC doesn't really work that great. And they were cooking. Like, I didn't want to sit in there. I took my work computer out into the hall and sat out there and worked for the whole day that day. But yeah, other than that, things are going real well. The Blues missed the playoffs, which makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
The Las Vegas Golden Knights won a playoff game, and the Winnipeg Jets won a playoff game, both for the first time in franchise history, and the Blues missed the playoffs because they couldn't defend against the second-to-last place Blackhawks for 8 more frigging seconds.
I watched the game on, what was it, Saturday? And this is probably the first time because, I'm pretty faithful in watching the Blues, especially during the playoffs. When I watched it and I said, you know what, maybe this is okay that they don't, because I turn into a different kind of monster during playoffs. And, you get that hope. There's a lot of highs, a lot of lows, and it always ends in a low. And I'm like, man, I don't have time to be depressed right now. So I'm just going to chalk this off as a good thing so I can focus on my last class, get this over with without having to worry about the Blues breaking my heart.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to have to do. I guess it is better that they broke our heart in early April instead of waiting until the end of May like they love to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just so frustrating to me because we have, it's all you non-hockey fans that are listening, it's our show, we don't care. Fast forward a minute or two. But it's frustrating because we have Vladimir Tarasenko, who's an amazing player, like a top 5, top 10 kind of guy in the NHL. And we're just wasting his time here. And we've got him under contract for 5 more years, but we're afraid that he's going to go the way of so many other great Blues, like Brett Hull or Brendan Shanahan or Curtis Joseph, and he's just going to leave in search of a team that's actually committed to winning the championship after his contract is up. And that would just be heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that makes me sad. That's the saddest story we're going to talk about today, except for like all the bombings and killings and stuff. But it's really sad. What are you doing after we're done recording tonight? Any
Who, me?
plans?
But I don't know. My birthday's tomorrow, so I might just,
I did know that.
stay up late and play a video game. I don't know. My mom just wired me like $50 from Amazon, so I was like, "Oh,
Nice.
it's time to buy a video game."
Happy birthday to Josh. Well, by the time this gets posted on the internet, his birthday will have been yesterday. But go ahead and wish @Hoonerific a happy birthday anyway.
As you should.
Yes. I love when it's your birthday because it reminds me that even though you have more hair and are better looking than I am, you're actually older than me. So that's, at least I've got something.
I do have more hair. But I don't know about the better looking thing. So
It's a toss up. Well, I've had makeup artists and stuff. I have advantages in life. I don't have it anymore. Now that we're talking how great each other looks here, you've probably noticed, dear listener, that you can't see us. We're using a new recording software. We've lost so much content to recording software errors. We started using OBS this week, and I just don't have the video capture set up right. So we're doing audio only this week. Rather than continue to give you inferior quality content, we decided we'd go audio only and really make it good, and then try to get video figured out for next week. So appreciate you bearing with us there. But we're going to get there to full video eventually once we get it figured out.
And then we'll put clothes on because.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm not wearing pants. I'm straight Donald Ducking
Right.
it. I'd be wearing even less, except my recording studio, quote unquote, is within view of the front door of my house, and I don't want to end up on a list.
Other news: Ken Bone walks around his house naked.
That's like the only way I could get back on the news at this point, I think. As if I did something really horrible, like smashed into a cop car, or just started walking around my house naked, or I don't know, developed a terrible substance abuse problem, apart from my rampant but under control alcoholism, that is. But that'd probably be the extent of it. But I'm not interested in that. Substance abuse or re-upping my fame. It was fun, but it's not a worthy goal unto itself. Fame doesn't give you fulfillment or joy or happiness or make your life better. It's fun. It's also stressful. And if you get to do it temporarily, knock yourself out. Don't sacrifice your morals or yourself to keep it. There's my little grandstanding moment for you. I guess with that, we'll go ahead and jump into the news. The most important news item of the week, obviously, Billy Mitchell has been stripped of his world record because he was caught cheating. And Billy Mitchell's world record, of course, was for Donkey Kong. He had the highest score ever in Donkey Kong, and it's now come out that he was using emulating software instead of the original hardware cabinet. How could you, Billy?
That cheating bastard.
The millions of kids who ate the boxes of Wheaties with Billy Mitchell's face on it are mega pissed right now. This is right up there with Lance Armstrong's blood doping.
Innocence ruined.
Mark McGuire's Androstenedione. Dione. This is on the same level as that. Billy Mitchell using performance-enhancing software. What a bastard.
I've been listening to Ready Player One on audiobook, and this has a little bit like relevance now because I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good game. I should play it. No, I'm not going to play that. But damn it, Billy.
Ready Player One, narrated by Will Wheaton.
Yeah,
I listened to it at one point also. It's like
it's magical.
I saw the movie and I liked it quite a bit. It was a lot of fun because, pop culture references. Most of my fame and travel and good times was because I was a pop culture reference, so I'm down with pop culture references. I thought it was super cool. The book I thought was really hackneyed and poorly written, but I listened to it anyway just because it seemed like it would be fun.
So you like the movie better than the
Yeah,
than
I
the
think
book?
I did. I think the changes that they made for the movie were appropriate, and some of the themes in the book were a bit dated perhaps, and just from a narrative standpoint, like if all of the plot points in the book happened precisely that way in the movie, it would just be repetitive. It'd just be the same thing over and over and over again.
Oh yeah.
And in the book, it definitely was as well. Like there was not as much to differentiate the different challenges and things that the character had to go through. And then there was just some crazy off-screen setup stuff, like Bugs Bunny pulls a hammer from off-screen to whack Daffy Duck. It was the same way with Parzival, the main character in the book. Like, he just basically off-screen develops some amazing skill and is able to apply that and be like, hey, we just had 4 long drawn-out chapters about how he's bummed out about whatever. And then we didn't get to hear the point where he got good. And, he had the equivalent of a Karate Kid montage, only we read it instead of watching it. It wasn't as interesting.
Well, I mean, that could be argued that that's in the typical 80s fashion. It's like, and montage!
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You're the best!
Reading it, or rather listening to it, felt like the 1980s. And watching it felt like, not necessarily the 80s, but like just a cool nostalgia vibe. It was pretty great all around.
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie yet. I'll probably do it this weekend. Looking forward to it.
It was a lot of fun. It's the kid that plays Parzival was also the kid that played Cyclops in the newer X-Men movies that took over for James
that's
Marsden.
right. Yeah.
And it's wild because like he wears the Oasis visor that covers up his eyes so you can only see his nose and his very prominent mouth. Just like when he's Cyclops, he wears the visor or the glasses so you can only see his nose or his very prominent mouth. And when he takes them off, he's just like, meh. He's just kind of a nondescript kid. Like, he's not a bad actor or anything. He just kind of looks like a lot of guys that age look. Like, there's not a lot to differentiate him until he covers up the eyes. And then you're like, oh, okay. That's who that is. I get it.
He's going to get typecasted as the guy with stuff over his eye. Was it Switchblade? Did that guy have stuff over his eye? Yeah, any movie. Yeah, he's going to have stuff over his eyes from now on.
Yeah, he's going to be Geordie LaForge in the next Star Trek movie.
There you go. Yeah, the white Geordie.
Of Hollywood whitewashing. Disgraceful.
You don't understand, guys. He's the perfect.
It's just
he's white.
He's the visor guy. You're like, well, that's not what we were looking for. We wanted some Reading Rainbow up in this bitch. Oh, well. In more local news, here on the home front in St. Louis, local radio host and TV show host Jamie Allman, who I've met and who seemed like a good guy when I talked to him. And I'm not going to denounce him and say he's a horrible person for one thing, but did he ever get in trouble? He's a very conservative commentator, and he runs a conservative morning talk show, and he has a conservative TV talk show that airs at it's one of those that comes on like before Wheel of Fortune or something like that. So, like a 5:30 time slot kind of thing. And he does news and commentary from a very conservative slant. And he takes issue with David Hogg, the Parkland survivor, who we've talked about quite a bit on this show. You may or may not have heard it because of technical difficulties, but we've talked about a lot how David Hogg, while we might not agree with all of his viewpoints on guns, is a minor, or he was until his birthday 2 days ago. He's a minor who survived a trauma, and he's entitled to his opinion, and he seems to be doing better on television than most 17-year-olds would have done, I got to imagine. I would have sucked on TV at 17 years old. So he seems all right, and if you want to debate his ideas, then debate his ideas. But to say that like a 17-year-old has a punchable face is not a very nice thing to say. And when Jamie Allman said on Twitter that he was getting ready to stick a hot poker up David Hogg's ass, that was not a nice thing to say, Jamie. That was a colossally stupid thing to say that I hope to God you did not mean. I know you didn't mean it literally. I know you didn't mean you were going to, in a literal sense, sexually assault a minor with a hot piece of iron. But, yeah, come on. Talk about, if you can't beat this kid on the stage of ideas, what's wrong with you? That's insane to me. When you can't beat a minor and his, off-screen coaches or whatever, in the realm of ideas, maybe just shut up then. But now Jamie has lost his TV show, he's lost his radio show, which he's had this radio show for
a long time.
10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
Been around a long time. And that's gone now. So ultimately, the point of this is twofold. Well, three, really. One, that was a colossally stupid thing to say, and I fully understand ABC 30 and 97.1 FM Talk parting ways with Jamie. Because when you make a living talking and you say something that unacceptable, it might be time to go separate ways. Two, don't think that defines Jamie as a person. Yes, it was awful, but I bet he feels bad about it, not just because he got fired, but also because it wasn't a very good thing to say. And I have talked to him, I have met him. He is overall a good person who said something really unacceptable and is now living with the consequences. So don't, he's not some horrible Nazi who's going to go live in a bunker now and disappear from life forever. He was a person who has very conservative views and made a mistake, but does not actually wish violence or ill on David Hogg. At least I don't think he does. I didn't get to ask him about it. And the third point, to ABC into 97.1 FM Talk, Josh and I are available for a discounted rate, just the same as we were going to take over for Matt Lauer, and that deal fell through because ABC didn't hear about it. We are willing to fill in for Jamie Allman as well. The Ken Bone Zone could easily replace Allman in the Morning or the Allman Report, or both.
Oh, totally. Yeah, and the Ken Bone guarantee is Ken will not threaten to stick hot pieces of metal up his opponent's asses.
Yeah, ABC, you can take that to the bank. I promise I will never, ever say that I want to put a hot piece of metal in a young person's ass.
Not if they're over 18.
Not one time. Yeah, if they're over 18, anything goes. Was this not America for crazy? Come on.
Consensual. Consensual.
Yeah.
Consensual hot poking up that, anyway.
A 17-year-old cannot consent to hot poker anal sex. I think that's the big takeaway from this story. That's the lesson I learned. That's the Aesop's fable for our generation.
Confucius says, no, I mean, the one thing that bothers me, I mean, yeah, Jamie Allman said something stupid. He deserved consequences. The thing that, the whole, I'm gonna stick my foot up his ass. Kind of, it's that colloquialism. If that's the right word for it, it's not appropriate. But a lot of the news articles was like, Jamie Allman threatens to sexually assault. I'm like, well, it's not really, but yeah, dude,
it is worth getting angry at those kind of articles, because when they take it literally, it's like, have you never used the phrase like, oh man, if my dad finds out about this, he'll kill me? Well, in no universe was Darren Bone going to actually murder me for staying out past curfew, or for blowing a tire on the car, or any of the stupid stuff I did. My dad's a reasonable human being who loves his offspring because he's a good person. He was not going to actually murder me. But you would say things like, oh man, my dad's going to kill me. So that's the kind of over-the-top thing. It was a shock jockey, dumb thing to say when he's supposed to be running a news commentary show. So I see the consequences, but yeah, when you see articles like, oh yeah, Jamie Allman really does want to sexually assault David Hogg. No, he doesn't. And article writer, journalist, you know that. You know that is not true, and you're doing the same thing he did and trying to put something shocking out there to get extra clicks.
When I look at my wife and I say, I'd like to hit that, that is a sexually lewd comment, but consensual among us, and it's not spousal abuse.
That is an excellent point. Every time I've thought about hitting that does not mean that I thought about punching her in the face.
Right.
That's an excellent, although creepy point.
Exactly.
That's what this show is known for.
Right. Wisdom and creepiness goes hand in hand.
Yes, it does. Speaking of things that are creepy and weird, Syria is creepy and weird, especially their gross relationship with Russia. But of course, President Assad has now used nerve gas to kill his own citizens for a second time in like the last 6 months. Or maybe a year. But yeah, holy crap. These are weapons that would not be allowed under the Geneva Convention, that are just awful, disgusting, terrible torture weapons. And there are videos out there of kids getting this stuff rinsed out of their eyes. And if you can stomach it, I suggest you watch it. Google Syrian kids getting treated or whatever. Because I think it's easy to read a news article and be like, oh yeah, a bunch of nerve gas and a bunch of kids, whatever. It's really a horrible, just awful, awful thing. Something has to be done. I don't know that something needs to be the U.S. goes to war in Syria, especially since our strike on the airstrip the last time they did this didn't really accomplish what we wanted it to accomplish. But something has to be done. This is where the UN is supposed to get something done. But, of course, Russia is able to stop the UN from doing anything meaningful. For those of you who don't know how the UN works, like I didn't until I had to start looking it up. So the UN has a Security Council, which is like the bosses of the UN. And there are 5 permanent members to the Security Council that do not rotate off. And any member of the Security Council can veto any UN action. So if every country in the world says, hey, Syria, that was unacceptable, you should go screw yourself with a David Hogg-style poker, then a member of the Security Council could be the only country in the world that says, oh, no, Syria's totally fine, this wasn't their fault. They could just veto whatever action we call for. We could call for really sanctions against Syria, or diplomatic action against Syria, or even boots on the ground against Syria with UN coalition forces. And Russia, who has a permanent place on the UN Security Council, just like America does, could say, nah, we don't want to do that. It's not a one-to-one argument, but I'll float it out there just so you can kind of understand it. It's the same thing that the U.S. can do to protect Israel. We've taken that action before to protect Israel from UN sanctions because the UN is notoriously anti-Israel. And this time, Russia is doing the same thing to protect Syria. The difference being that Israel never dumped toxic chemicals on their own citizens.
Right. It's a good correlation. I got what you meant, but it's not. The two countries are vastly different in that respect.
It's just the same diplomatic tool is getting used, is all I was trying to get at there. The UN is unlikely to do anything. The UN is so worthless. It's incredible the amount of blood and treasure and money that gets dumped into the UN, not just from the U.S. Now, the U.S. puts more money into the UN than any other nation does, but a lot of other nations put a lot of money and a lot of resources into the United Nations, and it sucks. It's just a sucking hole that all that money goes down, and very little good actually gets done. Remember Coney 2012 with the child soldiers, and remember people getting taken for slavery in Sudan, and remember the strife in the Darfur region and the Rohingya massacre and things like this. All those kind of things that the UN stepped in and stopped, except they didn't. That kind of bullshit. Some of those situations are still happening now because the UN is so impotent and stupid and they haven't done anything about it. When we can't all agree that it's not acceptable to wipe people out based on their race, and the UN can't even agree, you know what, you're right.
Yeah.
Then it's a useless organization.
Exactly.
Trump's first reaction was to say, Syria, you should expect missiles. Missiles are going to be coming your way, Putin, believe me, and they're going to be the biggest missiles. They're going to be the best missiles you ever saw. The missiles are huge. They're going to rain down on you bigly. I don't think that the U.S. is going to be dropping missiles. Now, by the time I publish this on Saturday, we're recording this on Thursday night. I'm going to publish it on Saturday after I get it cleaned up and uploaded. Maybe we'll be at war with Russia by then. But right now, it looks like we're not going to drop bombs on Syria. We're not going to lob missiles at Syria because Putin is not going to stand for that again. And no, it's not because Trump is Putin's puppet or whatever. I think Trump, if he had his way, would just take the mighty boot of the U.S. military and kick Putin in the ass with it. Right.
The mighty hot poker?
Yeah, absolutely. We would use the hot poker that is the United States Marine Corps and cram it up the asshole of these over 18 Syrians. But I don't think that's going to happen right now because it actually would risk a world-scale war. Like if the U.S. attacks Syria, there's a very real possibility of Russian forces trying to intervene, which leads to a direct armed conflict between the United States and Russia, which draws in the United Kingdom, which draws in France, which draws in China, a potential very, very large-scale war, which, would the U.S. win? Almost certainly. Almost certainly. The U.S. military is unfathomably powerful, but a lot of people would die. Not just soldiers. civilians and people in the middle. Not that I'm saying that it's okay for soldiers to die, but I'm saying this is not just something that you can measure in money or even just in military cost. It's going to be a big, huge humanitarian disaster, even more so than it is now. What we really need is for Assad not to be in power anymore, but the last time he was almost overthrown, Russia stepped in and lent their military power to him not getting overthrown, which was right before Russia stepped in and annexed a whole bunch of Ukraine. Just a whole lot of unacceptable shit that Russia does that we don't really seem to do anything about, not just because Trump loves Putin and sucks off Putin and whatever. No, this was the previous president and the one before that also. Been letting Russia get away with whatever they want.
Everything I've read, I mean, granted I haven't read a lot, but I've never understood why Russia has kind of had their bond with Assad. I don't get that, really.
Yeah, Syria's their big ally in the Middle East, and I don't get it. Syria is not, rife with resources. There's nothing they're giving back to Russia, really. They're not, big ideological partners where they have similar theories on how government should work, which is kind of how, you get back to the Israel-U.S. relationship. That's why Israel and the U.S. are so close, because Israel is the only real functioning democracy in the Middle East, and they have very close ideological ties to the United States. And so we've supported Israel a great deal over the years as our strongest ally in a very, very tense region that has similar ideas to how the world should run, at least on a grand scale, to us. Mm-hmm. But Syria and Russia don't even really share that much. I don't know if Assad and Putin are just hunting buddies where they go ride horses shirtless together like Putin likes to do, or what the hell it is.
That could be.
Yeah.
Assad's got something on Putin wearing skirts.
It's got to be something. There has to be something that I'm missing, and I miss a lot because this isn't our job. We don't just research politics all day. But there's got to be more to this than a lot of us are seeing. Because why does Russia like Syria so friggin' much? I never understood when we were kids and the Soviet Union fell why we let Russia keep its seat on the Security Council when it was essentially a third world country for a decade.
That's a good point.
It seemed like we should have revised the UN Charter and kicked them out, but too many people were like, oh no, poor Russia, don't do that. And now here they are stepping on other countries with that Security Council power. Oh well. Back to domestic news. Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, is retiring. Must be sweet to be 48 years old and contemplating retirement.
No doubt.
Yeah. We're both looking 40 in the face here in just a few years, and I'm not going to be retiring in that decade. That's for friggin' sure. But yeah, Paul Ryan says he's not going to run for re-election. The real downside of that, even if you hate Paul Ryan, and I know some of you probably do hate Paul Ryan, if you hate him, the Republican that's going to run for his spot and may very well win sucks. He is like Roy Moore level of sucks.
Really?
Breitbart News called him racist at one point.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he was at one point was racist by Breitbart standards, and that's I don't know how you can do that without shaving your head every day and carrying a tiki torch. That's just unthinkable to me. But yeah, he's one of the front runners to win the Republican primary now. So that district will probably go Democrat, and I'm guessing that Paul Ryan's he's jumping out because he knows the Democrats are probably going to take back the House, and he doesn't want to work in a Nancy Pelosi House of Representatives, because if the Democrats take over the House, she will become the Speaker of the House again, which is weird on a couple of levels. I don't understand why Democrats like Nancy Pelosi so much, because outside of her district or her state, at least, people friggin' hate her. She's not a popular figure nationally. There are other Democrats that are much more populist and much more palatable than Nancy Pelosi, and it's they don't care. Whatever. You'll take Nancy, you'll get nothing. So
I know, it's so weird. What does she have on him? I'm in a conspiracy mood. I'm like, why does Why does Putin have? Why is Assad? Does he have something on Putin? Does Pelosi have something on all the other Democratic representatives?
Yeah, I mean, I understand why I understand why she keeps getting elected to Congress, because she's extremely popular in her own district, and a lot of people in her district share her views. You know, she's a very left-leaning person, but she comes from a very left-leaning district, and that's great. Represent your people. That's what you're there for. But she doesn't really seem to represent the views of the Democrats at large, at least not the Democrat populace at large. So I just don't know why they keep thrusting her to the forefront when there are more moderate people. The way you beat Trump is not by becoming even more leftist. That's how you got Trump. The way you beat Trump is by being the moderate solution, being like, hey, we're tired of all this nastiness and bomb throwing and sickening rhetoric. And we're also tired of it being the extreme right versus the extreme left. So we're going to run as the moderate party. And while that might not play up well with the base, and it'd be really tough in the primary system for those candidates to get through, that would play so big on a national level to just not be a hateful mess.
Yeah.
Oh well, maybe I'm too dumb. Maybe I don't know anything about politics. Should have run for Congress.
There's always next time.
Yeah, there is. That's the thing with Congress, is there's always a next time. You're basically running for re-election as soon as you get elected, because you only have a 2-year term in the House.
Yeah.
Man, that seems crappy. Like, especially in a district like mine, Illinois 12, it's not really solid one way or the other. It was won by a Democrat, Jerry Costello, like 10 times in a row, but now it's been back and forth quite a bit. And there's very, very strong Trump support here. So if you want to run as a Republican, you almost have to, like, say Donald Trump is awesome, whether you believe it or not. And you want to run as a Democrat, then you just have to hate Donald Trump the most possible during the primaries, and then try to soften your stance in the general. Because you can't win the primary without just saying Trump is essentially Hitler without a mustache. And you can't win the general in a Trump-positive district without softening that somewhat, because then you just get smoked by the super MAGA hat-wearing Republican who won his primary. It's a weird system. It's a stupid system, really.
Yeah, totally.
But hey, what are you going to do? Yeah, I should have run. Sometimes I feel bad about it. Anyway.
2 years! 2 years! Do it!
2 more years.
Well, year and a half. Year and a half?
I'm betting that Mike Bost will win again. He's going to win this election in November. And I like Mike Bost. Just like I've said that before on the show. I like my congressperson, Mike Bost. But I've also said many times that even if you like your own congressperson, if you're unhappy with how Congress runs as a whole, and your congressperson's been there for more than, say, 1 or 2 terms, you should vote for somebody else.
Yeah.
Whether you like them, be damned. If the thing as a whole isn't working the way you want, you should get rid of him. I mean, we've all worked for jobs before where you've worked with a guy that everybody likes, but he just doesn't get stuff done around the office, and he had to get let go. That happens, I'm sure everybody can think of an example of that happening. Like, you work in the warehouse, and man, Jerry's a good dude, but he just messes up too many orders, or he doesn't get along with the other crews, or he does this and this. Nice guy, and we like him, but we gotta let him go. Those kind of things happen, but we seem to not want to let that happen in politics. And I think we probably ought to change that.
Word.
Let's see. Oh, we got only 2 more stories tonight because we talk about so much damn news. Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen, had his hotel room where he was living, because he's away from home dealing with Donald Trump right now, and his office raided by the FBI. It's a raid! Every time you read it's a raid, you feel like it's Elliot Ness coming in with a Tommy gun, kicking the door to splinters, marching out with boxes. No, it was somebody from the FBI knocked on the door with a warrant, and they said, hey, we're gonna take a bunch of your shit. And Michael Cohen's like, well, can I see the warrant? Yeah, here you go. Well, this isn't all in order, so I'm pissed, but go ahead. There's nothing to do about it. So they took a bunch of his stuff. They took boxes and boxes and boxes of records. They took computers. They took a lot of stuff. What you have to remember about these warrants, though, is they're extremely, extremely specific. Like, what records can you take? What records can you search? If you take a computer, what can you look for on it? So like these, hypothetically, I am not saying that Michael Cohen has child porn on his computer. What I am saying is that if the FBI found child porn on his computer, it would not be admissible in court, because that's not what they're looking for under the purview of this warrant. There are very specific search terms or search items that you're allowed to look for on someone's computer when you take it from them. Now, if they found child porn on there, I'm sure they'd figure out some way to bust him. But those files would not be admissible under this warrant, because they would be what's in legal terms called fruit of the poisonous tree, where, yeah, you got the results you wanted, but you came about them in an illegal way that is fruit of the poisonous tree and cannot be used in court, cannot be used against this person.
It's funny, I was looking at your notes and just the PowerPoint, like, my eyes just kind of briefed over really quick, and so I saw, Cohen office raided, and then up over at Seeking Stormy Daniels. I was like they were looking for Stormy Daniels in Cohen's office. Like, wow, this conspiracy gets deeper.
She was under the desk, curiouser and curiouser. The warrant hasn't been publicly released yet, but the going theory is that they're looking for material about the Stormy Daniels payoff, because Michael Cohen is the lawyer that paid off Stormy Daniels to shut up about putting it to Donald Trump, and she didn't. she talked about it anyway. So it's going to be an interesting legal case. But he's the one that paid her off, and they're looking to try to figure out, was this an in-kind contribution from Michael Cohen? Did Michael Cohen, because it was his money that he put in to do this. It wasn't Trump's money, and it wasn't campaign money so far as they can tell yet. It was Michael Cohen's money that he gave her. And the question is, did Donald Trump know about this, or did Michael Cohen expect some kind of favor from Trump in kind? Now, the obvious answer is, well, yeah, of course he did. He paid $130,000 or whatever it was to help Trump get elected, to shut up this porn star that he banged at some point. Of course he wants something in return. And yeah, he does. That's politics. But you have to be able to prove that in court. You have to be able to prove that I gave you this money so that you would give me X political favor. That would be a campaign finance violation, and a relatively serious one, but only for $130,000 is probably not going to get through court. In a $1 billion campaign, a $130,000 in-kind contribution is a bad thing, is a prosecutable thing, but probably would not be a strong enough case for, say, impeaching Donald Trump. But before they could do any of that, they would have to prove that Trump knew about it, and that this was intended as an in-kind contribution, or I give you this, you give me that. Otherwise, it's not illegal.
There's a joke here somewhere. It's right there in the front of my brain.
Something about the exchange of money and sexual favors. But write your own joke, audience. We're leaving this one up to you. Leave it in the comments.
Yeah. There you go.
But yeah, this was not a probe launched by probe. We're talking about being a porn star. The probe. That was unintentional. This is not part of the Russia probe by Bob Mueller. This is a totally separate thing. This is more likely about Cohen's wrongdoing than it is about Trump's, unless they can link the stuff together with this being an in-kind contribution. So otherwise it would have been a bunch of Trump records they would have subpoenaed, and that does not appear to be part of this warrant. Yeah, I love legal proceedings. My mom wanted me to be a lawyer, but I thought it was too hard. It's too much homework.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was, that they were targeting specifically more Cohen than Trump. I mean, as of right now.
Yeah, that's the way it looks. All the documents are not public yet, and it could be that this is the beginning of a larger Trump sting. But if it's just this warrant, then it's more likely Cohen gets in trouble and takes a fall, and Trump is not touchable under this. If there's more to it that comes out later, we'll see. But Trump is pissed about it. Oh, he's so mad. He says this is like an affront. This is an assault on America. No, it's not. Your lawyer paid a porn star to be quiet about YouTube watching Shark Week and having sex. Okay, that's not an affront on America. You're an idiot who cheats on all his wives.
I'm gonna leave her a bad Yelp review.
Oh yeah, 1 out of 5 stars. Jeez, oh man. Oh. And lastly tonight, Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, testifying before Human Congress. Congress. There's a fantastic meme going around of Zuckerberg drinking a glass of water, and the caption says, "Yummy, yummy, thank you, Human Congress. Thank you for this delicious meal." He's just so weird and so robotic looking.
Yeah, all the lizard men conspiracy theorists have been like.
He looks like a robot. He looks creepy and weird, and that's coming from a guy with like a size 47 head. I'm saying he looks weird. God,
I loved some of the questions though that they were throwing at him. They were just great,
it was so obvious that everyone asking the questions is an old lady or an old man who doesn't really understand social media or how it works or how the internet works in general or internet culture. Dick Durbin's asking questions, and he's got like great grandkids. But I guess it's fitting because it's Facebook, and everybody left on Facebook is somebody's grandma.
That's true.
It's just bizarre. I looked it up, and the average age of the senators on this panel is 57 years old. And senators are generally old people. But it's like, come on, could you at least bring your intern up there with you to ask the questions? That just blows my mind.
Does your company interfere with my AOL? Because
Mr. Zuckerberg, I'd first like to say that I publicly declare that Facebook does not have the right to use my pictures or access my data without my express written consent under the U.S. Code of Law 18 U.S.C. .6593. My nephew told me to post this, and you should too. Like and copy, please.
Well, you copy. Mr. Zuckerberg, I liked and said a prayer for that boy with leukemia. I just want to know if he's better now.
One like equals one feather in his angel wings.
I received a link that you were going to donate $1 million to one lucky person who would share this, and I just want to make sure that you were true to your word.
Senator Cruz, your question. Yes, I was wondering, Mr. Zuckerberg, if I agreed to share your content, if I really would be entered into a raffle for a Tesla Roadster. Lord. What happened to our country?
Why is this happening?
This is like the biggest news item of the day too. This is I was reading. I'm reading it and I'm looking at the more ridiculous pictures, and like all the pictures of Zuckerberg sitting on the booster seat.
Yeah.
That's not uncommon. I've seen the hall. I've seen the Senate chambers, and that the chair is intentionally like mega low, like super low under the table, so that when an average human, not like Zuckerberg the robot, but when an average human sits at it, you got like your elbows basically on the table directly in front of your shoulders. It makes you look like a tiny minion or a peon, and makes you feel all inferior to the mighty senators who are questioning you. So people started getting these booster seat pads to sit on. It's very common practice.
Interesting.
But boy, is it ever funny to look at.
Man, you learn something new every day in the Ken Bone Zone.
Oh yeah, well that was one of the coolest things about the whole meme thing, with it being so political with me. Is I got to learn so much of that inside baseball stuff about politics and how petty and childish most of it really is. Like, oh well, we're gonna make the person we question, their chair is gonna be really low, so we look bigger and stronger than them. Like, well, holy crap, what a stupid douchey thing! But this is like the annals of power. This is the halls of legislation. One of the most important and august bodies in the world. One of the most historic buildings on the face of the earth, with short chairs to make people feel inferior. Good night. Sickening. Oh, it all makes me so sad, which takes us into this week's big picture topic. We're going to roll the big picture topic segment back out this week. This week's big picture topic is coping with depression or other mental illness. I got a lot of traction on Twitter this week. I tweeted I was feeling really down, and I've suffered with clinical depression for for decades now. I've been diagnosed since I want to say 14. I've been taking antidepressants for the last 8 years or so, something like that. It is, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, what do you have to be sad about? Everything's so great with blah blah." That's the thing, is your life could be awesome, and you could still suffer with this. It's still a thing that happens. So dealing with depression is not an easy thing, but it's something I've struggled with, and it's something I wanted to share with you, the listeners. And Josh, I know you've had your struggles as well with different issues that you also take a very common medication for, which there's nothing to be ashamed about, so that you're able to focus on one thing at a time instead of 19. You take your own medication.
Right.
Which is good. If you can't make your own neurotransmitters, it is okay to buy them at the store. But yeah, it's when you're dealing with somebody who has depression, one of the first things you want to say to them is also one of the worst things you can say to them. When you say, "Well, cheer up, it's not so bad." Okay, well that's I'm not trying to be facetious or mean here, but that's the rough equivalent if your neighbor says, "Dude, I got prostate cancer," and if you just look them back in the eye and say, "Well, don't."
Oh, stop having cancer, buddy.
Stop having prostate cancer. Don't do that anymore. Like, well, it's a disorder. He didn't do it on purpose. People who have depression did not do it on purpose. And if we could just, like, "Oh, you know what? You know what? You're right. I should cheer up. Thanks, buddy. I never thought of that before." We would. We would just be happy. We'd just flip the happy switch. People that don't suffer from critical or clinical depression, I don't think that you guys have a happy switch. I don't expect you to be able to flip the happy switch. I certainly can't flip the happy switch. It's just sometimes are worse than other times, and it's a really tough thing. The changing of the seasons, like it is right now, going from the winter into the spring as the weather's changing, is a big trigger for a lot of people, and it definitely is for me. When it starts getting cold in the fall, I don't get it as bad because I tend to like the fall quite a bit. When it starts getting warm, but it does affect me. And when it starts getting warm in the spring, that's when it affects me worse because I don't deal with the heat very well. Summer is not my favorite thing. So when it starts getting warmer outside, that's just like a trigger in my head. They're like, things are changing. It makes you start getting really introspective, and sometimes you don't like what you see, and sometimes it's hard to see the good stuff. But what I want to tell you guys, if you're suffering from something similar, there's no shame in getting help. And that goes for anything. If your problem is alcoholism or some kind of other substance abuse, if you're being physically abused, if you have depression, if you have some other kind of mental illness, there is no shame in getting help. Please, I encourage you to get help. I will never, ever, ever think any less of you, and any thinking human being will not think any less of you either. So please get help. Get a doctor, get a counselor, get a therapist. There's also no shame in taking the medication which your doctor says that you need. Now, I take a pretty low dose medication, which I've talked to my doctor about, and we are thinking about bumping it up a little bit. We would rather not, because it can contribute to weight gain, which can begin even more of a cycle of depression. So we're kind of weighing those two factors right now. But it's a conversation we have every time I go to see him. And there is no risk, or there's no stigma that should be associated with taking medication for a diagnosed and very real disorder. It's a chemical imbalance in your brain. It is not a weakness of your mind.
Well, one thing I would add on to that is, because I've heard and seen a lot of people that don't like to advocate for themselves in the doctor's office. So especially with meds, like the brief periods of time I put myself on antidepressants because it just life was terrible, where some of them had just crazy bad side effects, where, if the doctor put me on it, go back to the doctor and be like, "Yo, this is driving me, this is taking me to crazy town.
If you're
we need to switch this up."
If you're having any of the side effects that are listed that your doctor should talk to you about, don't buy this stuff on the internet. Talk to your doctor about it. If you have any of the side effects that are listed with this medication, tell your doctor immediately, because some of them are extremely serious. One of the very common side effects with antidepressants is thoughts of suicide, which doesn't...
This is really weird.
Yeah, it seems weird. It's like, wow, that's so counterintuitive, but I can tell you exactly what causes it because it has happened to me. The first antidepressant medication I was put on, and I won't name it because it works great for some people. It's all about your brain chemistry, and it's all about what works for you. So there's nothing wrong with this drug. It just didn't work right with me, and my doctor and I decided we needed to try a different one because I thought about putting a gun in my mouth and killing myself. That was when I did not have access to guns. You know, if I have thoughts like that now, I would have my wife change the combination to the safe. But there is a very clear reason for that. It's because there are 3 elements to depression. There is like a sadness, or which sometimes expresses as a numbness, like you don't really feel anything. You don't feel anything, you don't care about anything, you just feel sad and down, or you don't feel anything all the time. Another element is a lack of energy, where it's just hard to get out of bed in the morning. You don't feel like you can do anything. It's like you felt like you ran a marathon yesterday, except your muscles don't hurt, you're just tired. Your joints might even ache like you have a mild flu. It just creeps through your whole body. And the third thing is a lack of motivation. You don't want to do anything. You don't feel like you can do anything. You want to sit and just exist because it's all you know how to do. Well, sometimes medication is designed to treat those 3 factors. Will treat one faster or better than another, depending on your brain chemistry. And if the one that it treats faster is motivation, if your motivation goes up while you're still feeling worthless,
oh, wow.
why do I even exist? What the hell is the point of living? Why do I continue to go on? Well, the only thing that might have been stopping you from hurting yourself before was that you didn't feel motivated enough to hurt yourself. And if this medication fixes your motivation before it fixes your other feelings, you might be compelled to hurt yourself, and your doctor needs to know about it right away.
Wow. That makes sense. I didn't know. That's a really good way to explain it. Wow.
I never thought about it until it happened to me. I thought very seriously. I never took action. I never tried to hurt myself. Other people have had it worse. This is not like a pity party thing. This is us sharing our experiences because we want to help each other, you know. And share your experiences in the comments if you feel comfortable doing so. I encourage you to do that. Try to erase the stigma of mental disorders. But yeah, I experienced it for myself, and it was a terrifying thing. Because the first time I thought, like, I should jump off of something tall, I was like, whoa, holy shit, what? Wait a minute. I never thought anything like that before. What's wrong with me? And by the second or third day of thinking like that, I was like, I gotta go back to the doctor. Something's wrong. You know, it said this might happen in the commercial. So I go back, and he's like, oh yeah, that can happen. I'm glad you came back, you know, and we talked about it, and you're going to try this medicine instead. Try that medicine instead. It treats all 3 symptoms at kind of the same rate. Kind of keeps you nice and even and smooth. So yeah, that's a scary thing. But turning to prescribed medications is okay. Turning to substance abuse is not the answer. Sometimes when I'm feeling down, like the last week or so has been really rough on me, and I don't know why. Well, life's going fine. But it's just one of those things that happens to your brain. I just want to crawl into the bottom of a Scotch bottle. And if the video was on right now, if I could have got that working, you would notice that I am not drinking a beer during the podcast tonight. Because when I'm in these bouts of depression, I want to drink more. Oh, I want to drink so bad. But I am just, I'm just well enough. I'm just treated or just brought along enough that I know that I shouldn't do that. And I'm not going to, because I wouldn't be able to stop in the state that I'm in right now. So please don't give into that. If you are able to not give into that, please don't. It's okay to have a couple of drinks sometimes, but not when you're in a vulnerable state. You also need to remember you have value. Look, listeners, some of you work with me, at my job, and I like you a great deal. I really do. I really honestly do. I care about you, and I would be so upset if something happened to you. All that stuff we talk about in safety talks, that is not some corporate bullcrap that I spout when I get up in front of everybody. I really do care about you. And I really do want you to be okay and to not get hurt. And I really do get a sick feeling in my stomach. Like, if we even have, if somebody else in the industry, like in another plant, gets hurt, like, I don't know them, but it could have been one of my friends for all I know. And listeners, like, I don't know Any of you, really. I probably might not have ever met you. If I did, we probably just took a picture, and unfortunately we only got to talk for about 30 seconds. And I'd probably remember your face if I saw you, but chances are very small that I'd remember your name because I just meet too many people. But I care about you. If I heard that something bad happened to one of you, I would feel terrible. It would impact me because you have value. You have value to me. You have value to other people that you don't even realize care about you as much as they do. That's not some schmaltzy crap. I really honestly believe that. So with that, please don't withdraw from other people when you're going through these seasons of feeling low. I know it's hard because the last thing you want to do is be around people. I don't want to talk to anyone when I'm feeling this way. And part of that is because somewhere in my head there's a little voice telling me, you're not worth these people's time. They don't want to talk to you. You're not worth it. Well, you're worth it, damn it. You are. We all are. And people want to help you. And it doesn't have to be like pouring your heart out to a stranger. It could be as much as like when you stop to get a soda at the gas station, or get some coffee and a donut or whatever. Look the cashier in the eye and be like, you know what? I hope you have a great day. Just having that little bit of personal connection with people actually does help. It's hard to feel it while you're doing it. It's hard. It's really hard to feel it while it's happening because your mind is so clouded and so overcome with these feelings of sadness and worthlessness. But those little things can add up. Everything you can do for yourself adds up. So do something you enjoy. Make those connections with other people. Hopefully you have a confidant like a spouse or a parent or a sibling or a really close friend that you can confide in. But if not, just make those little connections with people every day and do something you like. You like canoeing, you like playing video games, you like flying a kite, you like doing whatever you like to do. Just do it. And you know what? You probably won't be able to feel the joy. You won't feel as awesome as you normally do when you're doing it. You're going to get out on your jet ski and you're going to be like, oh, what the hell's the point of this? But when you look back on it, it added just a little bit. It helped you just a little bit. And you almost had to force yourself to do it. But even though you can't feel the happiness that you should be feeling at the time, it will add just a little bit. Having that routine of doing something for you in your life. Another factor is you need to make sure you get proper sleep. When you're depressed, you're probably doing one of two things when you lay down and go to bed at night. You're either staring at the ceiling for hours and hours and hours, counting the little flecks on the ceiling of the textured paint, and maybe getting about 2 hours sleep. Or you lay down as soon as you get home from work at 6 o'clock, and you wake up when your alarm goes off the next morning at 7:30, because you just want to tune out the world, and you just lay under your blanket and hope that the rest of the world will have disappeared by the time you get back out. And folks, it won't. It's still going to be there. And you got to face it. And I know it hurts, and I know it's hard. I've done it, but you have to. You have to do it. You have to treat your body right during those times. Get adequate sleep. I'm talking 8 hours, not 6, not 10. 8, as close as you can possibly get it. And the number one thing is just remember, you don't deserve to feel this way. That voice in your head is going to tell you that you deserve to feel as bad as you feel. You don't. We deserve better. Every single one of us does. You deserve better. I deserve better. And I'm hoping that you get it.
It's good stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I've suffered with for a long time. And while I still have a little bit of a public voice, I figure, like, hey, you know what? I bet there's at least one person on my Twitter feed that is hurting too. I guarantee it. I bet there's one person listening to this show that's also hurting, and maybe this makes you feel a little bit better. And if it doesn't make you feel a little bit better, maybe it just makes you feel less alone, and that's something. At least you're feeling something instead of that numbness that tries to creep over your whole brain. So if you have any experiences with this, please leave them in the comments. We want to hear about it. We just want to listen to you. And when the trolls come, trolls, talk to me. I don't want any trolls talking to my commenters. You go to hell. You can talk to me. I'm used to trolls. I love trolls. Trolls leave my commenters alone, so you don't have to worry about them. I'll take that troll hit.
Ken will stick a metaphorical hot poker up your ass.
Absolutely. As long as you're 18 or over, I will hot poker the shit out of you. With consent.
Consent.
With consent. But anyway, that's about all I got for you this week. I feel a little bit better, if I'm being totally honest with myself. Just the thought that maybe there's one person out there that we've benefited a little bit makes it worth doing this show, even though it can be a very technical pain in the neck some weeks. I'm glad that we do it because I get to talk to my best buddy, and we might actually be doing something that helps at least one human being out there.
And that makes it worth it.
Absolutely. Makes me feel good. But that's enough feeling good doing the radio show or the podcast this week. We're going to go ahead and let you go. Let you think on all the deep stuff that we talk about and all the creepy hot poker stuff too. But for my great friend Josh Burkett up in the Twin Cities, I am Ken Bone down here in the St. Louis area. I'll bid you a good day. I approve this sweater.
It's good, man.